My girlfriend broke up with me because her coworker said I wasn't in her league. 5 hours later, she regretted it all and was begging for another chance. But I'd already seen a video of her with another guy. Now she's blaming her coworker. I, a 28-year-old man from a small town in the Midwest, have been holding on to this story for a while. I guess it's time to get it all out. I want to talk about my ex, Laura, and how things unraveled between us. This all started back in high school, so let me take you there first. Laura and I met during sophomore year. She wasn't the loud, attention-seeking type like a lot of other girls in our grade. She was more the quiet, keep-to-herself kind of person. But once you got her talking, she had this way of lighting up like she had a million dreams in her head all trying to spill out at once. She wanted to work in publishing and dreamed of living in a big city, working with books, and maybe even writing her own someday. I was hooked from the start. Me? I wasn't what you'd call ambitious back then. I wasn't failing classes or anything, but I didn't have my life planned out the way Laura did. I was the guy who was always fixing things. If something broke in shop class, I'd be the one the teacher called over. If my friend's parents needed help with a leaky faucet, I'd be there with a wrench. By junior year, I realized I could turn that into a business. So while other kids were worried about prom or the SATs, I was setting up a small plumbing operation. By the time senior year rolled around, Laura and I were inseparable. We went to prom together, watched crappy rom-coms in my parents' basement, and spent hours talking about our futures. I don't know how to explain it, but we just clicked. She was my first everything. First kiss, first love, first real heartbreak. But we'll get to that. Laura got into a prestigious university, and I couldn't have been prouder. I still remember the day she got her acceptance letter. She ran over to my house, waving the envelope like it was a golden ticket. I hugged her so tight, I thought I might break her. That was Laura, though. Always aiming high, always pushing herself. When she left for school, I didn't see it as the end of us. I saw it as the next step. I kept working on my plumbing business, and by then it was doing pretty well. Nothing glamorous, but steady. Money was coming in. I figured if she was chasing her dreams, the least I could do was make sure she didn't have to worry about things like rent or groceries. So that's what I did. I helped pay her rent, sent her money for books, and even surprised her with care packages. During finals week, I'd drive 4 hours to her dorm just to spend the weekend together. It wasn't easy, but I didn't mind. She was my girl, and I wanted to make her life easier so she could focus on school. I'll admit, there were moments when it felt like I was putting in more effort than she was. Laura was busy with classes, internships, and networking events, which I understood, but sometimes I'd call or text her, and it felt like I was interrupting something more important. She'd say things like, "Sorry, I've just been so swamped," or "We'll talk later." Okay, but later didn't always come. But when we were together, it was like no time had passed. I'd visit her, and we'd spend hours just walking around campus or sitting in her tiny apartment talking about everything and nothing. Those were the moments that kept me going. After she graduated, Laura landed a job at a well-known publishing house. It wasn't her dream role. She wasn't editing bestsellers or writing her own book yet, but it was a start. She was excited, and I was excited for her. I thought we had made it through the hard part. Now it was time to build our future. By then, my plumbing business was doing better than ever. I'd expanded, hired a couple of guys to help with the workload, and was even thinking about opening a second location. I was proud of what I'd built, even if it wasn't the kind of job that came with fancy titles or a corner office. Laura used to joke that I was the CEO of Pipes, and I loved that she could see the humor in it. For a while, things were good. I kept supporting her the way I always had. If she needed help with anything, I'd send her the money. If she had a big project at work, I'd show up with her favorite takeout, so she wouldn't have to cook on weekends. We'd take little trips or just hang out and binge watch whatever show we were into at the time. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. But there were signs that things weren't as solid as I thought. Her work seemed to take over her life. She loved what she was doing, but it felt like she was always trying to prove something to her boss, her coworkers, maybe even to herself. I'd try to get her to slow down or take a break, but she'd say, "You don't get it? In this industry, you have to hustle." I tried to be understanding, but there were times when I felt like we were growing apart. I didn't want to admit it, though. I figured every couple goes through rough patches, and we'd get through ours too. After all, we'd been together since we were kids. If anyone could make it work, it was us. At least, that's what I thought before Bianca showed up. Bianca was one of Laura's co-workers, and at first, she seemed cool. Laura would mention her here and there, saying things like, "Bianca says she's jealous of how supportive you are," or "Bianca thinks it's sweet that you bring me lunch when I'm too busy to leave the office." I didn't think much of it. It's normal for people to talk about their relationships at work, right? But Bianca wasn't just talking. She was planting seeds. The first time I noticed something off was when Laura mentioned a casual conversation they had during lunch. Apparently, Bianca said, You're so lucky your boyfriend supports you chasing your dreams. Most guys would feel threatened by a woman with ambition. Sounds like a compliment, right? But Laura added that Bianca also said that most guys like that are secretly controlling. She asked if I had ever held money over her head. I laughed it off at the time because it was ridiculous. I had never once made Laura feel like she owed me anything. If anything, I'd always encouraged her to focus on herself while I took care of the bills. But I could tell it stuck in Laura's mind because she started insisting on paying for little things here and there like coffee or gas money when we went on trips. It wasn't a big deal, but I felt like the dynamic between us was shifting. Then came the point where Bianca was always finding something wrong with what I did, no matter how thoughtful or kind it was. One day, I surprised Laura at work with her favorite sushi because she had mentioned skipping lunch to finish an assignment. She texted me later, thanking me, but then said, Bianca thought it was sweet, but she also thought it was weird that you didn't ask what I wanted first. I was confused. I brought her the exact order she always got from her favorite spot. Why would I need to ask? Another time, Laura and I went out for a nice dinner to celebrate her first promotion. We were having a great time until she mentioned, Bianca thinks you should have let me pick the place. She says you always take control of stuff like that. I had chosen the restaurant because it was a spot Laura had been wanting to try for months. But suddenly, even doing something nice for her could be twisted into a flaw. Bianca didn't stop at my gestures. She had plenty to say about my job, too. One night, while fixing a clogged sink in Laura's apartment, she casually mentioned, Bianca asked what you do for work today. When I told her you own a plumbing business, she said, oh, that's cute. Cute? Owning a business isn't cute. It's hard work, and I had built it from the ground up. But that wasn't even the worst part. Laura added that Bianca asked, has he ever wished he did something more polished? That one stung. I knew I wasn't some big shot executive, but I had always been proud of what I did. My business paid the bills, and it was honest work. Still, Laura reassured me, Bianca is just blunt sometimes. Don't take it personally. But I could see Bianca's words starting to seep into Laura's thoughts. She started making little comments that felt out of character. Things like, do you ever think about expanding your business into something bigger, or have you ever thought about taking classes to learn more about business management? On the surface, they sounded like innocent questions. But paired with everything Bianca had been saying, they felt loaded. It wasn't just the comments, though. Bianca had this way of inserting herself into our lives even when I wasn't around. For example, Laura told me about a work event where everyone brought their partners. I couldn't make it because I had an emergency call from a regular client whose basement was flooding. When Laura mentioned why I wasn't there, Bianca said, see, that's the thing with guys like him. Their work always comes first. Laura said she stuck up for me, but the seed had been planted. Later, she asked, do you think you'll always have to handle emergencies like that? What happens when we have kids someday? Bianca's poison wasn't just in the things she said. It was in how she framed herself as the wise friend who knew better. Anytime Laura and I had a disagreement, Bianca would swoop in with her unsolicited opinions. If I forgot to text Laura back right away, Bianca would say, that's a red flag. Communication is so important. If I planned any kind of surprise, Bianca would ask, don't you wish he asked for your input more? It felt like she couldn't stand the idea of us being happy. She reached out to me again. After a year of silence, no messages, no apologies, not even a hint of regret, Laura finally had the audacity to show up. And it wasn't just a simple, hey, how are you? No, she went straight for, I miss you. Can we talk? I laughed when I read it. How convenient. Now that my life was better than ever, now that I wasn't the guy who spent nights fixing pipes and driving for hours just to see her, now she wanted to talk. I left the message unanswered for a few days. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I wanted her to feel the uncertainty, the same uncertainty she threw at me when she said she needed time. I could picture her staring at her phone, checking to see if I had read it, if I would reply, if I still cared. But I didn't care. Not the way she wanted me to. My life had completely changed. After cutting Laura off, I threw myself into work. I expanded my plumbing business, opened 2 new branches, and turned what was once a small operation into a thriving company. I was no longer the guy who fixes leaks. I was the owner of a solid, successful business with employees and recognition. Beyond that, my personal life had never been better. I was in the best shape of my life, taking care of myself like never before. I went out, met new people, and had a few casual relationships. Nothing too serious, but enough to make me realize just how toxic Laura had been. How she had made me feel like I was never enough, like I had to change just to be worthy of her. Now I saw everything clearly. And then Laura showed up. After ignoring her for nearly a week, I finally replied, hey Laura, I miss you too. Let's meet. A lie. I didn't miss her at all. but I wanted her to think I did. She responded immediately, like she had been waiting desperately. We arranged to meet at an upscale restaurant in the city, a place she had always wanted to go, but I couldn't afford back then. Now I could. When I arrived, she was already there, dressed up as if it were a date. She smiled, but not the smile of someone happy to see an old friend. It was the smile of someone hoping to reclaim what they lost. "You look amazing," she said, scanning me up and down. "Life's been good," I replied, offering no further details. She seemed uneasy at my response. Of course, I wasn't the same guy anymore. We sat down and ordered. She tried to start small talk, asking about my business, my routine, how I'd been feeling lately. But I could see in her eyes that none of that was what she really wanted to know. What she really wanted to know was, do I still have a chance? And that's when I let her dig her own grave. "You know, Laura," I started after a while, "I've thought about you a lot these past few months." She looked relieved. "I've thought about you too. I made a lot of mistakes and I know that now. I didn't appreciate what we had until it was too late." "Really?" I asked, pretending to be interested. "Yes. I let myself be influenced. I allowed outside opinions to cloud my judgment. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone." I twirled my glass in my hand, acting as if I was deep in thought. "But you seemed so happy, so busy growing while I was being left behind." She lowered her gaze. "I was wrong. I thought I wanted something different, but the truth is, I never found anyone like you." She was regretful. I could see it in her eyes, in the way her voice trembled slightly, in how she nervously played with the napkin on the table. But her regret meant nothing to me. "I want to ask for another chance," she continued. "I know I hurt you, but if there's still something between us..." I leaned forward slightly, locking eyes with her. "You know what's funny, Laura? If this had happened a few months ago, I would have believed you. I would have accepted every word and tried to fix things." Her face lit up with hope. "But now I see you for what you really are." Her smile vanished. "You didn't want something better. You just wanted what was convenient for you at the time. And when you realized life wasn't as easy as Bianca made you think, you came crawling back." "That's not true," she tried to protest. "Oh, but it is. You left me because you thought you could do better. Now that you see I'm better without you, you want to come back." She fell silent. For the first time, she had no excuse, no manipulation, no justification. "I just wanted to fix things," she muttered. "Laura, you can't fix what's already broken. You can try to glue the pieces back together, but it will never be the same." She swallowed hard. "So, is that a no?" I stood up, placed money on the table to cover my half of the bill, and grabbed my jacket. "It's a go fuck yourself." Her expression changed instantly. The mask of remorse dropped, and for a second, I saw the anger take over. The wounded pride, the humiliation of being rejected by someone she assumed would always be waiting for her. But I wasn't waiting, and I never would be again. I turned around and walked away without looking back. That night, I slept better than ever. What pissed me off the most was how Bianca managed to get inside Laura's head without her even realizing it. We started arguing about things that had never been a problem before. Small gestures that used to feel natural between us suddenly became topics for uncomfortable conversations. If I paid for dinner, Laura insisted on splitting the bill. Not because she wanted to, but because it was fair. If I planned something special for her, she'd pause and say, "We should decide things together." If I was late replying to a text because I was buried in work, she'd sigh and say, "I understand, but..." before adding some passive-aggressive remark that sounded exactly like something Bianca would say. At first, I tried to reason with her. I explained that this was how we had always been, that it had never been an issue before, that I did everything because I cared, because I wanted the best for her. But nothing I said seemed to be enough anymore. And then came the worst part. It was a Friday night after a long, exhausting week. I showed up at Laura's apartment with a bottle of wine she loved. I just wanted to relax with her, forget about everything, and enjoy our time together. But as soon as I walked in, I knew something was wrong. Laura was sitting on the couch, arms crossed, a heavy look on her face. "We need to talk." Nothing good ever follows that sentence. I sat down next to her, trying to act calm, but my stomach was already sinking. "What's going on?" She took a deep breath before speaking. "I feel like maybe we gotten stuck." My heart dropped. "Stuck? What do you mean?" "Don't get me wrong, I love you, but sometimes it feels like we're just standing still while everyone around us is moving forward. I see my friends growing, chasing new opportunities, and I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm not moving anywhere." My blood boiled. "You feel stuck?" "Laura, I've done everything for you. I supported you through college. I stood by you through every hard time. I built a business to make sure we never had to struggle. I know. and I'm grateful for that, but I just need something more. That phrase hit me like a punch to the gut. Something more? Like what? She avoided my eyes. Her fingers fidgeted, like she was rehearsing the words in her head. I don't know if I can keep doing this. I let out a bitter laugh. This is because of Bianca, isn't it? She looked visibly uncomfortable. It has nothing to do with her. Oh, really? So why is it that only after she started meddling in our relationship, you suddenly started questioning everything? She said nothing. Answer me, Laura. Do you actually believe this? Or are you just repeating what she's been putting in your head? I just want to grow, and you seem so comfortable where you are. Comfortable? Laura, I work over 10 hours a day. I'm not stuck. I'm building something from the ground up. Unlike your friend, I don't sit around judging people's lives as if I have all the answers. She shook her head and rubbed her face with her hands. I don't want to fight. Oh, but you don't want to break up, huh? She hesitated. I just need some time. That was when I knew I had already lost her. Because it always starts like that. A break that turns into distance. An excuse that turns into a permanent goodbye. I stood up, unsure whether I felt more anger or sadness. You've already made up your mind, haven't you? She didn't answer, which was an answer on its own. I grabbed my things and walked out of her apartment. For the next few days, I tried to act like I didn't care, but everything reminded me of her. Then, less than a week later, a mutual friend sent me a video. I didn't want to open it. I knew nothing good would come from it, but curiosity got the best of me. The video showed Laura at a bar with another guy. They weren't just talking. She was laughing, playing with her hair, looking at him the way she used to look at me. And then the kiss. I turned my phone off immediately. It felt like someone had ripped something out of my chest. It hadn't even been a week. Not even one damn week. My vision blurred with rage. I grabbed my phone and dialed her number. She picked up on the third ring. Hello? Long time no talk, Laura. Silence. Weren't you taking a break? Because it looks like you moved on pretty damn fast. What are you talking about? I saw the video. Her breathing got heavier. It wasn't serious. I laughed, but it was bitter. Oh, right, just an emotional exploration, huh? It's not like that. Then how is it, Laura? You dumped me because you wanted to grow. But in reality, you already had another guy lined up, didn't you? It's not like that. Do you think I'm stupid? She stayed silent. You know what's the worst part? I gave you everything. I believed in us. I fought for this while you let yourself be poisoned by someone who had nothing to do with our relationship. I just wanted something different. No, Laura, you wanted someone different. I hung up on her. After that day, I cut her off completely, blocked her number, deleted her pictures, threw away anything that reminded me of us. But the anger stayed. It wasn't easy to move on, but I threw myself into my work. I expanded my business, opened new branches, became a well-known name in the city. My income doubled. I was at the top of my game. A year later, guess who messaged me? Laura. Hey, how have you been? I miss you. Can we talk? I laughed to myself. Now that the thrill had worn off, now that she realized the world wasn't as wonderful as Bianca had made her believe, she wanted to come back. I deleted the message without replying. She made her choice. Now it was my turn to move forward.